Hey everybody, you may have already seen this, but I just now tried it and I think it's so cool. It's cutting an aluminum can with your Big Shot. This is the Snowflake die, Snowflake number 2 die. Probably can't see the cut lines on here, maybe a little bit. Anyway, it's a Big's die, so it's the extra thick one. Oh, you can see how I always write the dimensions of what I need to cut my paper to on the ends of my dies with an Identi-Pen or a Sharpie so that I don't have to measure it every time. Anyway, we're going to cut up a pop can so that we get a snowflake like this. So I have wiped the outside of this can, dug it out of my recycle, and you can use your craft and rubber scissors that we used to cut our rubber with before mounting our stamps, but since they're die cut anymore, my scissors sit now. I don't use them all that often, but since I have some tin snips from my husband's toolbox, these big old honkin' deals, I'm going to use these just to save my craft and rubber scissors. And the tin cans are sharp, so I'm going to use my well-worn leather gloves, and I'm going to be real careful cutting this because it's sharp. Now what I want to do is start from the drink hole, and I'm going to cut right down the label because I don't want to see the label, and then I'm going to cut right at the very, very edge of the bottom shoulder of the can, and then I'm going to come back up the other side of the label and cut to the very top of the top shoulder because I'm going to need that whole width of the can. So I'm just going to start cutting with these tin snips. It's kind of tricky to get started because I don't want to bend the can too much. I want to save as much of the surface of the can as possible. Actually, the craft and rubber scissors might be easier because this blade thing gets in the way. Anyway, so here we go. Cutting around the shoulder, bottom shoulder of the can. Just let that fall, and then I'm going to cut clear to the top shoulder. And I don't need the whole thing, so I might as well just cut the label off. There. See all those jagged edges I created because I wasn't real careful? Anyway, and you know, I think I might need to cut, I left some of the curved part of that shoulder on, and it doesn't want to lay flat, so I better cut that off too. Well, if I can. There. Now I've got this flat piece that I can use in my Big Shot. I'm going to use my grungiest, most used up cutting pad on the top just because it's sharp and metal, and this one's already dinged up pretty good. I have a new set that I'll be using when this one wears out. And you want to rotate your pads too so you don't always use the same one on top. Anyway, clear cutting pad on the bottom. Snowflake die is next. And then whenever you're cutting with the Big Shot, you want your good side face down because then the steel rule die that's in here will push up into the paper, and that leaves the curved edges towards the back of your image. So I want the colors of the Sprite can to show, so I'm going to put it right, that's going to be my right side, so right side down, and the size of the can is really close to the width of the image, so I'm going to make sure that I get it lined up really good, and I'm holding it down really well so that it doesn't shift underneath there. Okay, clear pad on top, and then just run it through. And out it comes. And then I can pop out the snowflake, and I'm being careful because I still have some of these raw edges from when I cut the can, but the snowflake will actually not be so bad because the edges are kind of curved now from having been pushed through that steel rule die. Just a couple of corners that get stuck, and then poke out the centers of some of the detail. And I'm not worried actually at all. I mean, I want you to be careful, but I'm really not too concerned about these edges on this snowflake because it's been curved in. And there's another really cool snowflake. You can kind of see some words in places, and maybe I could be a little more strategic about my placement when I put the snowflake, when I put the pop can down, but there's so much detail on the snowflake I don't think you really notice it. So it's really easy. There's a list, and I'll post it on my blog, of all the different items that you can cut with your Big Shot, but this is just one example of thinking outside the box and using aluminum cans. So I'm going to make a scrapbook page out of this. Thanks for watching. Bye.